My name is Andrew. This was my first rehearsal. In that instant, I instinctively flinched. The teacher slowly asked me if I knew why. My mind was blank. I had no idea what I'd done wrong. His eyes stared at me like I was a criminal. Furious, he told me to count to 4.
Look at me!
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 3,
Rushing
4.
or dragging?
Rushing.
So you do know the difference!
I did. Was that rushing or dragging? He asked again. The humiliation burned up my face, my eyes welled up, and tears started falling uncontrollably. I wasn't crying, I just couldn't stand being treated like garbage. But to him, my tears were worthless. His words were sharp and harsh, like frantic drum beats, violent and maddening, pounding into my nerves. At that moment, I only felt shame, anger, and an indescribable stubbornness boiling inside me. I knew I couldn't let him look down on me like that. As crazy as his methods were, nearly everyone in the entire conservatory dreamed of getting into his band. So did I. Not long ago, I was practicing alone in the rehearsal room, and then he showed up, Terrence Fletcher. That was my first time seeing him. As a freshman, I longed for him to notice me. I thought it was my chance to prove myself. But just as I finished playing and looked up, he was already gone. Was I disappointed? Of course. But I knew that unless I was good enough, he would never look back at me. I wasn't even the core drummer in my old ensemble. How could I even dream of entering Fletcher's band? But that day, Fletcher suddenly burst into the classroom. The teacher stepped aside automatically. The whole room fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Fletcher began choosing people. He asked everyone to play just 2 or 3 notes, and he could tell whether they had potential. Then it was the drummer's turn. We were told to play double-time swing. The core drummer went first, and then it was me. I remember clearly I had played that rhythm the night he visited, and because I failed to impress him, I'd been practicing in secret ever since.
Drums with me. Thank you, Joe. No, other drums.
I didn't know why he picked me, but it was his first affirmation. It was like he was telling me, you deserve to stand in front of your dream. I even found the courage to ask out the girl I had a crush on. I imagined the future, thunderous drumming, roaring applause, girlfriend by my side, everything perfect. But I didn't realize that the real hell was just beginning. The next day I joined rehearsal as the core drummer's alternate. Everyone was chatting and laughing. I thought it would be no different from my old ensemble. But at exactly 9 o'clock, Fletcher walked in, not a second off. The air froze. Everyone sat bolt upright, not daring to make a sound. He opened the score, briefly introduced me, and started rehearsal immediately. Everyone was hyper-focused, as if one mistake would lead to execution. I stared nervously at the sheet, trying to figure out what made this band different. But I had only looked for a few seconds when Fletcher suddenly called a stop. He said someone had made a mistake. He wanted that person to own up. I hadn't seen his temper before, but I could feel the fear in the room. No one spoke, so he made each player play individually.
Tell me it's not you, Elmer Fudd.
The player in question didn't dare speak.
Do you think you're out of tune?
Yes.
Then why the fuck didn't you say so?
The room was dead silent,
Why are you still sitting there? Get the fuck out!
and Fletcher furiously kicked him out, just like that. But to Fletcher, this was far from enough. Watching Fletcher's teaching method shattered my worldview. During the break, he pulled me aside. He said there was a reason he had chosen me, but didn't say what. Instead, he told me a story. He said Charlie Parker became Bird because once, after screwing up, his teacher Jones threw a cymbal at his head. I didn't think much of it. I thought he was being self-deprecating, joking about being harsh. But I was too naive. When class resumed, he had me follow the sheet music. I didn't realize what was wrong, but he stopped me again and again, making me repeat it endlessly. I panicked more and more. He stood right in front of me, staring me down, making my scalp tingle. Then came that scene from the beginning. He said I was off-tempo and began verbally tearing me apart. Every word was like a knife, vicious and chilling. I knew then, this guy didn't care how good I was. He saw something else, my refusal to give up. From that day on, I swore, no matter how much he yelled, no matter how much he humiliated me, I would play the rhythm he wanted. Even if my hands bled, I wouldn't stop. I practiced like crazy. My blood and sweat soaked the drumheads. I wasn't drumming, I was beating out all my cowardice, hesitation, and fear. The next day, the studio band had a competition. He reminded everyone to stay sharp, especially to keep the sheet music safe. The first performance went smoothly. During the break, the core drummer asked me to hold his sheet. I set it on a chair. Then I went to get a soda. When I came back, the sheet was gone. We tore through backstage, nothing. My scalp went numb. The core drummer was furious. At the performance, he blamed me for losing the music.
The folder is your fucking responsibility, Tanner.
Fletcher told him to go on stage, but he hadn't memorized it and couldn't play.
I can't. I can.
Seeing the resolve in my eyes, Fletcher nodded, raised his hand, and I began to play. Every bit of effort paid off. I closed my eyes, the rhythm flowed through my fingers like blood. Each strike was precise. Even I was surprised. I felt his gaze on me, and that moment I knew he had started believing me. We won the competition. In the first class after returning to school,
Tanner, what are you doing? It's core only today. I don't have time for alternates.
Fletcher officially made me the chord drummer. I was over the moon, reliving the rhythm on the bus, feeling like I was on fire. But I soon realized the real test was just beginning. At a family gathering, I excitedly shared my success. No one cared. Fine, I only needed Fletcher's recognition, but I was too naive. The performance at 5 p.m. the next day would be my first as the official chord drummer. I memorized the score early and boarded the bus, but halfway through the bus broke down. I rushed to the car rental place. Too hurried, I forgot my drumsticks. When I arrived at the theater, Fletcher told me I was being replaced for being late. My heart sank. I protested, why not let me play? Fletcher said his band only took drummers with sticks. I got it. I begged him to let me borrow a pair. He gave me 10 minutes. If I didn't return in time, I'd be the alternate. I raced back, yelling at everyone on the phone. Then, I crawled out of a wrecked car, covered in blood, dazed, but with one thought: I need to play. I staggered into the theater, clothes torn, face bloody, and stepped onto the stage. The audience stared. Fletcher froze. I sat down, hit the drumstick, and music began. But my body ached. I was mentally breaking. I messed up right away. Fletcher immediately stopped the performance. At that moment, my pain wasn't just physical anymore. That disastrous mistake ended my drumming career. After I healed, my dad took me to meet a woman. She was serious and direct. She said the death of Fletcher's student wasn't a car accident like Fletcher claimed, it was suicide. I froze. She said Casey developed severe depression after joining Fletcher's band. That's when the illness began. My throat locked up. I couldn't breathe. She said she wasn't the only one. Over the years, many parents had quietly discussed it. They all felt Fletcher's teaching was too extreme. It destroyed people mentally. She hoped I would anonymously report him for Sean Casey. I looked at my father beside me. At that moment, I locked all my dreams about drumming into a box. He only knew one thing. He had to protect me. I agree. I threw the records into the trash, packed the drum kit away into a corner. I started a new life, step by step, like everyone else. Until one night, I was walking alone past a jazz bar. On the light board outside, I saw a familiar name: Fletcher. My steps stopped. I hesitated for a second, then pushed the door open and walked in. He was on stage playing the piano, his expression calm, like a different person. I found a corner to sit down. The music surrounded me. It felt like I was back in those old days. After one song ended, he turned his head and saw me. I instinctively wanted to get up and leave, but he called out to stop me. We sat down like two old friends. He smiled and said he had left the school because someone reported him. I kept a straight face, pretending to know nothing. He didn't seem sad. On the contrary, he looked much more relaxed. That made me breathe easier too. Before we parted, he called out to me. After quitting teaching, he had formed a band and was about to perform on an important stage, using songs I was most familiar with. He invited me to join the band as the drummer. I went back home, stood in my room, staring at the drumsticks I had thrown into the trash. If I needed one performance to prove myself, this was it. I arrived at the venue on time. Backstage, I tried to calm myself down, but my palms were sweating nonstop. It was the most important performance. The audience was full of big shots. Any one of them could change everything. Once on stage, Fletcher walked straight up to me.
You think I'm fucking stupid?
I was stunned.
I know it was you.
Then he walked to the front of the stage and announced to the audience, the first piece would be Upswinging. I was dumbfounded again. That song, he hadn't mentioned it at all last night. He knew I was back, knew I still wanted to be on this stage. And he used the harshest trick to shatter the fragile confidence I had just rebuilt. I forced myself to keep playing, but the rhythm was a complete mess. I felt a suffocating shame. I endured the awkwardness and finished the piece. The moment I stepped off stage, I was crushed. I took off my jacket, ready to leave. Backstage, I ran into my father. He looked at me, his eyes full of pain. He hugged me and wanted to take me home, but the next second, I turned around and quickly walked back onto the stage. Before Fletcher could finish speaking, I raised my drumsticks and struck down hard. This time, I was going to own the stage. I started to take control of the entire performance. I played every rhythm, each hit precise, every downbeat thunderously loud. Fletcher stood at the side of the stage watching me. For the first time, there was no mockery in his eyes, only respect. He gave a small nod and motioned for the band to join in. We played in perfect sync, like two souls finally finding the same frequency of resonance. By the time the piece ended, the whole room was erupting, but I didn't stop. My hands kept moving, my sticks kept striking. There's too much I wanted to say hidden in every beat. It wasn't just music. It was the proof of everything I had fought for to get here. It was my dream, my anger, my faith, and it was me.